There are people who still struggle to appreciate the assurance you're giving to us that Tullow is not for sale. There cannot be a forceful takeover of Tullow.
Right. So let's look at the numbers. So this year, 2019, Tullow will produce from Ghana annual average about 150,000 barrels, and we will generate. This is for us and the partners, and we will generate $350 million of free cash flow. Next year, even despite revised downward guidance, we will generate $150 million of free cash flow. Now, that doesn't sound like a company that is in distress. So I would say that the numbers alone should suggest that we are not in distress. I'll get to the second part of your question. I think the challenge and the difficulty that has occurred is that we actually forecast much higher numbers, not just 350, but 700 million, not just 150, but 500 million. And that is where the discrepancy and the challenge to the credibility of the company came from. Why did you predict this number or forecast this number when actually you're getting only 150? So it's very much about expectations and expectations management. And that's where, as a publicly listed company, you get punished because it says, you didn't do your forecasting well, you didn't do your planning well, and it raises questions. But fundamentally, the assets from which we are producing Jubilee and 10 are still very strong. I mean, the news was actually Jubilee has shut down and Enyenra is closing, that's a whole different picture. But that's not the picture that is being painted today. In terms of whether the company is for sale or not, I think we know for a fact that when our executive chair was asked that question, if you like, out of context, she said yes. But she also said, if you read the transcript, that actually every day a publicly listed company has to entertain offers. That is the job, fiduciary duty of any board of directors. Now, if you take that point of view and you say that, well, what Tullow is doing today is no different from what Tullow did a week ago, and yet the share price has gone from, say, £1.40 to 40 cents, that does reduce the valuation of the company, and it's a great arbitrage opportunity in terms of what the real value is in the ground versus what the market is saying it is. So understandably, it is an opportunity for others to think this could be a takeover target, but that doesn't mean that the company itself is actively looking for buyers, because really the company doesn't feel it needs to find a buyer.
Do I get from you that these problems that were identified this year are something just that can be tweaked as a production thing, and therefore next year we should expect some exciting times, and these are not things that are going to linger on?
As I tried to explain earlier, we made those forecast projections on the back of a very successful drilling program a year ago as we continue to increase production. And the natural instinct of most organizations is that as we increase, we can do more. As we increase, we can do more. I think what this year has forced the company to do is basically to stop, take a deep breath, and reassess. And that assumption of just continued upward progress may not have been the right one. And actually, we needed to take better account of the risks that we actually had producing oil and factor them in better than we did. So we've really spent the last few months doing that exercise where we say now, are we taking proper account of those risks? Are we factoring them in properly rather than just saying everything will just continue to improve? So I would say that it's not just a tweak. There are substantial reductions in our production guidance. There are several thousand barrels a day less. But equally, it's not as if all of a sudden the production will go from 100 to 0 in the next 5 years. What we've seen is that we can maintain production on a stable basis for the long term.
Last but one question. Do you think that the problems with looking at what has happened with the oil area and the desperate measures that you have to take to deal with it, do you think that for once and for all, this flaring issue and gas issue has to be dealt with going forward? And therefore, if you have to put pressure on government, or even if you do your own vessel to take this gas, it has to be done now?
I think you are definitely onto something when you say the gas reinjection, we have to deal with it because we have been reinjecting from the beginning for a number of years. And really, I think our message to government is we've got to find a complete solution where we stop reinjecting. As I said, we're not flaring at this time, but we are reinjecting. So definitely agree we need to find a solution for that. And I'm definitely hopeful that we'll find it.
So to the final question, I mean, I was surprised, just like what I asked you with the Mangos, McDane. These are individuals who helped Tullow in the troubled times. Looking at what has happened and even looking forward to the plan review of your operations, do you look at your back and so that am my position safe?
when a board decides to, when the CEO resigns, I mean, nobody's job is safe, quote unquote. I think all we need to do is do our jobs the best we can. No individual, no organization is perfect. I think very much the exercise is looking forward. How do we look forward and make sure that, let's say the mistakes of the past are not made? We can't spend our time looking backwards. So I think Paul McDade and Angus McCoss are very highly regarded, very capable individuals. They made their decisions because they felt perhaps they needed to move on. But really, I'm fairly confident that we can look forward with the resources.
You're not worried.
Not really.